The birth of England in Rogers, from Saxon warriors to the first English king.
Long before the name England existed, this island was wild, untamed, and alive with forests that stretched as far as the eye could see. Rivers glistened like silver threads weaving through the land. Animals roamed freely, and people lived in small, scattered villages made of wood and thatch. Life was simple. Villagers hunted, fished, farmed, and gathered by the fire to tell stories that carried the wisdom of generations. These early Britons were resilient, rooted in the land, and guided by their clans and tribal leaders. Yet beyond the sea, winds of change were stirring. Across the North Sea, new peoples, warriors of great skill and courage, prepared to cross into these lands. They were the Saxons, the Angles, and the Jutes, fearless and determined. The Roman legions had long departed, leaving the island without a unifying power, and now new forces were arriving to shape its future. The first Saxon ships appeared on the horizon, their sails catching the wind, their warriors ready for conquest. Villages along the coast watched in fear as these newcomers landed, shields raised and weapons gleaming. Battles erupted, rivers ran red, and fires consumed wooden homes. The Britons fought valiantly, but the Saxons, organized and relentless, began to settle the land. They cleared forests, built villages, and slowly, a new world took root. From these early conflicts, kingdoms emerged. Wessex in the southwest, Sussex, Kent, East Anglia, Mercia, and Northumbria each became centers of power. Each kingdom had its king, warriors, and laws. Forts and settlements rose to protect people from raids, and slowly scattered tribes began to unite under regional leaders. Life was hard, but these new kingdoms offered structure and protection. Farmers tilled the soil, craftsmen forged tools and weapons, and communities began to thrive amid the hardships. Even as swords clashed, another transformation quietly took place. Christian missionaries arrived from Rome, bringing with them faith, learning, and new ways of life. Monks built wooden churches and monasteries, teaching reading, writing, and the wisdom of the Roman world. Christianity spread slowly, blending with Saxon traditions and creating a cultural bridge that united people beyond the reach of kings and warriors. Illuminated manuscripts glowed by candlelight. Prayers echoed in halls, and festivals combined old beliefs with new teachings. The spiritual life of England had begun, adding depth and unity to the turbulent times.
Agnus Dei, qui tollis peccata mundi,
By the 7th century, strong and wise kings began to rise. Leaders like Ethelbert of Kent extended their rule, uniting people under one law, fostering trade, and forming alliances that strengthened their kingdoms. Kings were not only warriors, they were lawmakers, diplomats, and protectors of their people. Their reigns laid the foundations for a sense of identity, of belonging, and of what it meant to be English. Towns developed around fortresses and monasteries, markets flourished, and trade routes connected distant settlements. Across the land, daily life continued to evolve. Farmers harvested crops, blacksmiths hammered iron, children learned skills from their elders, and communities celebrated both work and faith. Rivers remained lifelines, forests provided shelter and resources, and the people adapted to both nature's challenges and the threats of war. Every victory, every loss, every alliance, and every story passed by the fire shaped the growing identity of this land. And so, from scattered tribes and fierce warriors, from battlefields and monasteries, from kings' courts and village life, the island slowly transformed into something new. England was not yet a united kingdom, but its roots were planted firmly in the struggles, courage, and wisdom of these centuries. The Saxons had arrived, kingdoms had formed, Christianity had taken hold, and the first English kings had begun to rule. This was the birth of a nation, a land of hope, resilience, and unyielding spirit, a story that would shape the destiny of the British Isles forever. The land itself seemed to hold its breath as these centuries of change unfolded. Forests, rivers, and hills watched over the people who were learning to live together under new kings and laws. The seeds of unity, culture, and identity were being sown, preparing the island for the next great chapter in its history. The rise of the kings who would seek to unite England under one crown and defend it against new threats from within and beyond the sea. From the Saxon warriors who crossed the waves, to the kings who held their kingdoms with wisdom and courage, to the monks who preserved knowledge and faith, this story of England's beginnings is one of survival, transformation, and hope. It is a story of how a scattered people became a nation, a land defined not by its borders, but by the bravery, faith, and determination of its inhabitants. England was born not in a single moment, but through centuries of struggle, adaptation, and the vision of leaders who dared to imagine a united land. And so as the sun set over villages, forests, and rivers, England stood on the brink of a new era. The first kings had carved their names into history. The people had learned to live in communities bound by law, culture, and faith, and the island itself was ready for the next chapter, the forging of a united English identity that would endure for centuries to come. The story of England has begun, shaped by warriors, kings, faith, and community. These are the roots from which a nation would grow, as we witness the rise of Wessex, the forging of unity, and the first steps toward a truly English kingdom. This is the journey of a land, its people, and the birth of England itself. After centuries of hardship, the Saxon kingdoms had taken shape across the land. Wessex, Mercia, Northumbria, East Anglia, and more, each strong, each proud, each determined to survive. The people farmed, traded, prayed, and worked the land, slowly building the early identity we now call English. But a new power was rising beyond the sea, a power that would challenge everything the Saxons had built. From the cold fjords of Scandinavia, long ships sliced through icy waters. Aboard them were fierce warriors known to history as the Vikings, bold sailors, skilled fighters, and fearless explorers. They sought treasure, glory, and new lands, and the shores of England called to them like a beacon. The world of the Saxons was about to enter one of its greatest storms. The first Viking raiders struck swift and brutal. Coastal monasteries were burned, villages were plundered, and warriors rushed to defend their homes. The people had never seen ships move so fast, nor enemies fight with such ferocity. For years, the raids were scattered, sudden, and devastating. But soon the Vikings returned, not just to raid, but to conquer. Great Viking armies marched across England, their banners whipping in the wind, their warriors forming shield walls that crashed like thunder. Kingdom after kingdom fell before them. Northumbria collapsed. East Anglia was overrun. Even mighty Mercia trembled. It seemed that the land of the Saxons might be lost forever. Yet in the southwest, in the kingdom of Wessex, hope still lived. Wessex was ruled by a line of kings who were wise, determined, and fiercely protective of their people. Each king learned from the battles of the past, strengthening walls, training warriors, and forging alliances. And from this royal line would rise one of the greatest leaders in English history, Alfred, a young prince who had studied, trained, and prepared for a day he hoped would never come. But destiny had chosen him. When the Viking great army swept across the land, Alfred stood firm. As a young king, he faced impossible odds. Enemy forces surrounded Wessex. Many believed all was lost. For a moment, the kingdom fell into darkness, and Alfred was forced to flee into the marshes, hiding with only a small group of loyal followers. The cold winds blew across the wetlands, and the future of England hung by a thread. Yet it was in these marshes, surrounded by water and mud, that Alfred made a promise: to fight not with despair, but with courage. From his hidden refuge, he gathered his people, sent messengers across the land, and prepared his army for one final stand. His determination lit a spark of hope in the hearts of his people. And then when the moment came, Alfred rose from the marshes like a reborn king. He gathered warriors from every village, every farm, every stronghold of Wessex. With shields polished and swords raised, they marched toward the Viking forces for a battle that would decide the future of the island. At Edington, the armies clashed with thunderous force. The ground shook beneath the weight of shield walls. Arrows filled the sky. And amid the chaos, Alfred led his warriors with courage and strategy. Step by step, blow by blow, the Saxons pushed forward. When the smoke finally cleared, victory belonged to Alfred. This victory changed everything. The Vikings agreed to a peace treaty with Alfred, dividing the land into two zones, the Saxon territories and the Viking-controlled Danelaw in the east. But more importantly, Alfred had preserved the dream of an English kingdom. From this moment on, Alfred was known not only as a warrior king, but as Alfred the Great, the first English ruler to bear that title. Alfred now turned his mind from war to wisdom. He built fortified towns called burhs, where people could be protected from raiders. He trained his armies for rapid response, created naval defenses, and invited scholars from across Europe to teach reading, writing, and science. He helped translate books into English, making knowledge available to everyone, not just the elite. Under Alfred's rule, England began to heal. Children learned in schools, farmers returned to their fields, craftsmen repaired villages, and trade routes reopened. Faith was strengthened, roads were rebuilt, and a vision of a unified England began to shine through the mists of the past. But the story did not end with Alfred. His children and grandchildren carried his torch. His son Edward the Elder expanded Wessex's influence. His daughter Ethelfled, known as the Lady of Mercia, became one of the most powerful women in early medieval Europe, leading armies and building fortified towns to reclaim land from Viking rule. Together, Alfred's descendants pushed the boundaries of English power further than ever before. The dream of a unified England was now more than a dream. It was becoming a reality. Kingdoms joined under the House of Wessex, and slowly the scattered lands of the Saxons began to merge into one. As the 9th and 10th centuries passed, England transformed from a land of scattered tribes and threatened kingdoms into a stronger, more organized nation. The burhs guarded the people. Mercia and Wessex stood together. The Danelaw shrank as Viking leaders adopted English customs, laws, and even language. And from the visions and victories of Alfred the Great and his children, the foundation for a united English kingdom was laid, solid, unbreaking, and ready for the next generation of kings who would finally complete the unification of England. From the ashes of war, from the terror of Viking invasions, and from the courage of leaders who refused to surrender, England rose stronger, wiser, and more determined. This was the age of transformation, the age when Wessex became the heart of England, when kings became legends, and when the dream of a united land was written into the story of its people. As the sun set over the burhs of Wessex, over the fields restored after years of war, over the people who once trembled but now stood tall, one thing was clear. England's journey had only just begun. Alfred the Great had survived the storm of Viking invasions, but his work was just the beginning. The network of burhs he built across Wessex offered protection and trade centers, while his schools and encouragement of learning created a generation that valued knowledge as well as courage. His navy patrolled the coast, guarding against raiders. Alfred's vision was of more than survival. It was a blueprint for a lasting kingdom, where law, faith, and culture bound the people together. Even after his death, his legacy guided the rulers who followed, laying the foundation for a united England. Edward the Elder, Alfred's son, inherited a kingdom still under threat. Vikings continued to raid the northern lands, and independent Saxon lords tested the boundaries of Wessex authority. Edward responded with strategy, strengthening fortifications, training professional armies, and consolidating alliances. Burhs expanded to new regions, and Wessex's influence began to reach into Mercia and East Anglia. Through careful planning, Edward ensured that Alfred's dream of a secure and unified realm was not lost, demonstrating that leadership required both wisdom and resolve. Ethelfled, Alfred's daughter, became one of the most remarkable leaders of early medieval Europe. Known as the Lady of Mercia, she ruled with courage and intellect. She constructed fortified towns along strategic locations, creating a network to protect Mercia from Viking incursions. Ethelfled led her armies into battle, negotiated with neighboring lords, and inspired loyalty through wisdom as well as bravery. Her work strengthened the Midlands, safeguarded trade, and laid the infrastructure for what would become the unified English kingdom. Without her vision, Æthelstan's later achievements may never have been possible. In 924 CE, Æthelstan became king of Wessex, Mercia, and eventually Northumbria. He inherited a kingdom stronger than any before, but unity remained fragile. Local lords in distant territories had long histories of autonomy, and Viking settlements still challenged authority. Æthelstan's coronation symbolized not only a continuation of Alfred's lineage, but a vision, a single kingdom encompassing all the Anglo-Saxon peoples. His reign marked a turning point where the dream of unity became tangible, and England would finally begin to see itself as one nation. Æthelstan knew that conquest alone could not secure unity. Diplomacy became his greatest weapon. Through treaties with neighboring rulers, strategic marriages, and pledges of loyalty from Saxon and Viking leaders alike, he wove a network of alliances that strengthened his authority. Trade agreements connected distant towns, while religious diplomacy with bishops and abbots reinforced his legitimacy. By blending diplomacy with force, Æthelstan transformed England from a patchwork of semi-independent kingdoms into a cohesive realm. Not all accepted Æthelstan's rule willingly. In the north, Viking armies remained a constant threat, while some Saxon lords resisted the authority of Wessex. Æthelstan's military campaigns were decisive. His strategy combined rapid mobilization, fortified burhs, and disciplined infantry. At the legendary Battle of Brunanburh in 937 CE, Æthelstan faced a coalition of Vikings and rebellious Saxons. The clash was ferocious. Arrows darkened the skies, swords rang against shields, and the ground shook beneath marching armies. Æthelstan's tactical brilliance secured a resounding victory, proving that England would remain united under one king. Æthelstan's unification was not only military, but administrative. He codified laws that applied across the kingdom, ensuring that justice was uniform. Trade flourished, connecting coastal ports with inland towns. The burhs became thriving centers of commerce, protection, and governance. Culture also blossomed. Craftwork, storytelling, and religious observances spread from one kingdom to another. Æthelstan's reforms laid the framework for a kingdom bound by law, culture, and shared identity. Faith and learning were central to Æthelstan's vision. Monasteries served as centers of knowledge, producing illuminated manuscripts, teaching literacy, and recording history. Churches across the kingdom reinforced a sense of shared identity, providing moral guidance and community cohesion. By encouraging scholarship, Æthelstan ensured that England would not only survive but thrive intellectually, spiritually, and culturally, forming a foundation for generations to come. By the mid-1930s, Æthelstan's authority stretched from the Scottish borders to the south coast, from the Irish Sea to the North Sea. He was recognized as the first true king of all England, commanding loyalty from Saxons and assimilated Viking leaders alike. England had moved from a collection of semi-independent territories to a unified kingdom. Æthelstan's reign became the standard by which later kings measured the strength and cohesion of the nation. Æthelstan's achievements resonated long after his death. He proved that unity could be maintained through a balance of diplomacy, culture, and military strength. Laws, fortified towns, and education ensured that England could withstand external threats and internal divisions. His example provided a blueprint for future monarchs, showing that a united kingdom required vision, courage, and the loyalty of its people. The unification of England was no single event, but a journey spanning generations. From Alfred's foresight to Æthelstan's realization, scattered kingdoms became one nation. Yet the story of England was far from over. New kings, new challenges, and new stories awaited. The foundations laid by these early rulers would endure, shaping the island and its people for centuries to come. England stood united, resilient, and ready to embrace its future. From the first tribes of ancient Britain, to the arrival of the Saxons who built new kingdoms, to the Viking storms that shook the land, and finally to the rise of Alfred the Great, his heroic descendants, and Aethelstan, the first king to unite all England. This is a story of how a nation was born, a land shaped by warriors and kings, by families and farmers, by faith, courage, and hope. The journey of England has only just begun. Its future chapters will be even more extraordinary. Thank you for watching this story of England's beginnings. If you enjoyed episode 1, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share this documentary so the full series can continue. Your support helps keep history alive,